Hey, what's up guys? Luke Prophet. So this is just a quick video on how to get defects removed from your account. It's not going to be super detailed, and if you would like to see a detailed version of how to do it, then just watch the live calls that I have with eBay. They're in the different section of eBay live calls in this course, and I actually go through it on the phone and have defects removed from my account so you can see exactly how to do it. So I'm just here because I don't want to be signed into my account and have to worry about censoring that information because it's a pain, takes forever. So I'm just on Google Images here, and these are a little bit old, outdated photos. But your transaction defect report is something that's basically, it's what I've talked about before about keeping your account above standard, and if you do everything perfectly, keep all your metrics looking great, you can get top rated, but if you do a bad job, then you go down and become below standard. So you would click to get to your transaction defect report. This is what it looked like a while ago in 2015, but it's close enough. They've still got the orange dots and everything. So essentially, if you have more than 2 defects for basically for cases, I think there's another one that affects it as well, and that one's not as big of a deal. But it's essentially, if you can stop all the cases, that's going to be the big one. So. If you have something that happens, and the most common way for me, the most common way that this happens is somebody goes to return an item, right? That I give them a return label. They don't use it for like 3 weeks. eBay closes the return in our favor, and we keep the money because they didn't return it. And then way later, the buyer returns the item, like way later after they've lost their chance and don't have a shot at returning it anymore. They return the item, and then as soon as it gets back, because it's old and has been closed, eBay doesn't send you a notification that you need to refund them, and then they call eBay and complain and say, hey, this guy didn't refund me. And then eBay says, oh, no, you didn't refund the buyer. You're supposed to refund the buyer. And then it gets counted as like a bad mark against your account. So obviously that's kind of a weird situation. But, I get a lot of sales, and that is the most common thing that actually happens with me. I don't really have many issues with buyers, saying they didn't get it, because I just upload the tracking and prove that they did get it. I don't have problems with buyers saying, oh, it's broken, because if they do that, I let them return it, So it's pretty rare that you'll have a case. Sometimes you'll have something that gets lost in the mail, and in that case, if it's a cheaper item, usually I'll just refund them, just to be on the safe side and make sure it doesn't get closed against me. I'd rather lose a couple bucks than my whole account. But yeah, so if you do have something like this where the buyer, returns the item, eBay never tells you to refund them, and then you've got a bad mark on your account for not refunding them. What you're going to do is you're going to pull up your transaction defect report. You'll see a little orange spot like this, and as a case or something that was closed against you, and there will be a spot where you can appeal it. Now, I do not recommend using the website version to appeal it, because for some reason, they just kind of ignore that. Like, there is a way to do it, but it doesn't really work very well. So what you need, and by I mean doesn't really work very well, I mean you file an appeal with all the information, and half the time they just don't really even look at it, and it doesn't ever help you at all. So what you're going to want to do if this happens is call up eBay. Like I said, I've got live calls of me doing this at least twice in this course, so that you can watch and see how I got these defects removed, because these defects count against your seller standard. So if you get 2 of them, your account is screwed and will go below standard. You don't want that to happen. So you're going to have to call and get this removed, and it's not many. You might have to do this once a month or less, usually. So you're going to call eBay, and you're going to say, hey, I was just looking at my transaction defect report, and I noticed that we had one that slipped through here. The case ID is whatever, and can you pull that up and take a look at it for me? And they'll go ahead and do that, and then you basically just explain to them what happened, or if you don't know what happened, then say, not really sure what happened here. We gave them a label. One time I had a thing where I was talking with a real jerk on the phone. He was really rotten person, but it really didn't want to help me and was being kind of rude and stuff, and basically was insisting that it was my job and my fault, and I didn't refund the buyer, and it's all my fault and stuff like that. And if I would just have refunded him, then he wouldn't have. But there's nothing he could do and stuff. And I was like, look, I never got a notification. You never told me to refund the buyer. That this was past the time. I had no way of knowing this because you didn't tell me to send the buyer a refund. A notification did not show up in my dashboard like it would normally, telling me to refund the buyer. I didn't get anything like that. And he goes, okay, well, let me check on that. And then he goes through and he's like looking and looking, and he's like, oh shoot, you're right, we actually didn't send you a notification. Okay, yeah, sure, we can get that defect removed from your account. And they did, and yeah, everything was good after that. So it can sometimes be a little bit of a pain. Usually it's pretty easy. Usually it's pretty dang easy to get defects removed, because all they need to know is, your name, your address, all the normal verification stuff, so they can make sure you are who you say you are. And then they also need proof that, not proof, they need to know what the case is, and they'll usually read you like the title of the item and make sure you're talking about the same thing, same buyer and everything. But then you just sort of explain what happened and why it shouldn't have been, shouldn't have had the problem, and then they appeal it, and I believe it takes like a week or something to actually disappear. Like right away you can see that the defect is like going away, but then it's going to like take a week to actually completely disappear from the report. So yeah, like I said, I've got a video about this, but that's just me sort of explaining the process a little bit. So now that you understand this, go ahead and go watch one of the 2 videos on how I actually communicated with them. I was able to have them remove the defect from my account so that it stayed in perfect standing and didn't put me at risk.
Anyway, guys, that's it for this video. If you're new to dropshipping and you're trying to figure out how to get started, I've got a full free set of training videos down there, link in the description. It goes over everything you need to know about how to get started making money online. And the average person following my method makes around $500 to $800 profit per month after expenses for each 1,000-item eBay store that they have set up and running. They're really not that hard to get started. If you've got any questions about anything dropshipping related, feel free to hit me up on Facebook. I'll put a link down there, as well as a link to a group that I started with hundreds of other dropshippers that you can join. I post new content on this channel every couple days, so go ahead and subscribe and click the notifications, and I'll see you back here with another video in a couple days.